So
We.
this is something I forgot to bring up in like the fourth video we made with mistakes, right? About how people
Hmm.
want mistakes in the story. Uh,
Yeah.
Only one genre like really gets stakes like perfectly because it's not like a island full of civilians at stake or like whatever. No
Hmm.
one's gonna die. It's sports series because it's just they're
Well,
just so good at that.
actually, um,
I think they're
I
consistently better with
no,
that than
I
most
think
other
I think I think
types of
sports
genres.
series do stakes better in certain ways, but worse in other ways. For example, in a battle shonen, losing like early on in an arc is like not a big deal. It doesn't matter. You could definitely do it. But losing at the end of a huge arc is almost impossible. Whereas it's the opposite in sports anime. Losing at the beginning of a tournament is literally impossible because then the series ends. But losing at the end of a tournament, like Final Four, Final Eight, that's entirely possible.
Yeah.
Because you already made it far. You've already had a journey. So I think sports series are better at keeping the stakes up in like the
Arguably
by
the more
stakes
important part, or the people
by like
care about
stakes we
most.
mean like possibility of failure.
Yeah.
In sports anime, you're able to fail at the very end, whereas in it's the inverse of like Battle Shonen. Like Naruto is not gonna lose to Kaguya, but he might lose to Deidara. Whereas Cross Note is not losing to fucking the first people they play in the spring tournament,
Yeah,
but they
like the
might
guy who
lose.
like yeah, like that team that like their only like redeeming quality was that one guy's ability to like
Yeah,
serve up high in the
yeah,
air.
but like they might lose to like the Miwa twins because that's scary.
Yeah. So anyway, I literally just wanted to
Yeah,
bring it up
it's
because I
just stuff
just
like
saw the
that.
Haikyuu movie and it was great.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know what they cut. You told me that they cut
Oh,
like a
as a
bit, but
manga
like
fan, I could say they cut a lot more than they fucking should have, and they condensed a lot more than they should have. But they still made like a passable movie. Really, it just shouldn't have been 80 fucking minutes.
yeah.
Should have been like an hour and 20 or something.
All
Not an hour
right.
and 20. That is 80. Like I meant like 120 minutes.
Yeah. So anyway, is there like a certain topic you want to start with today? I forgot.
I don't. You had one.
Oh, okay. Well, I did have an idea, but I thought you brought something up. But anyway, it's just the idea that like Oda's involvement in making something immediately canon and sacred to the One Piece story is something we don't
Right.
agree with. Because just like consistently,
It's
it's not like
illogical.
a yeah, just consistently it doesn't work out too well.
Because
Uh,
like off the top of my head, Oda, people like Oda oversees the Viver cards and the data books, and it's like we don't know to what degree. We also don't know how much he cares because there's a lot of mistakes. So either A, he's missing a lot of things, or B, there's so many mistakes that he genuinely doesn't have the effort to correct them all. Either way, clearly not the most reliable thing on the planet. And B, you know what else Oda has like involvement in? Um, like every movie since Strong World. Um,
yeah,
and half of those are literally Strong World and I think Z are the only ones that are remotely even slightly possible if you want to force them to be canon. And even then, there's still some fucking errors.
yeah,
um,
yeah.
and then are just like other things. Oh, dude, he oversaw the live action. Is that a canon alternate universe? Do we have canon
Dude,
multiverses now?
canon multiverse in One Piece. Let's
Yeah,
go.
dude. Bluno and Brule can get
Dude,
there
you
with
know
their
what? You know
dimension
what's
powers.
great? Oda had so much
Hmm.
involvement with the stage play that he married one of the actors. Let me tell you
I,
about that.
I thought that was a cosplay event.
Oh, I
I
thought it
think
was.
you're wrong there.
Yeah, okay, I might be wrong there.
No, but do you know what he did have involvement in?
What?
The story for One Piece Odyssey. Is that fucking canon? No.
Yeah.
um, so it's just like people be like, well, Oda worked on it, and it's like, well, Oda works on like everything, so why would it's not canon? And it's like, well, aspects of them are canon. Like Shiki is canon,
Yeah,
and it's like,
we
yeah,
can pick and
Shiki
choose
is
what
canon.
aspects we want to be canon. That's how this
Yeah, but
works.
Shiki is canon because around like 'cause, like I think before Strong World even dropped, Shiki was name dropped in the manga, and Oda had been planning on name dropping Shiki even earlier than that. Like he planned on name dropping him during the Shanks Whitebeard meeting.
Yeah.
He just changed his mind because he thought he couldn't include him. And like obviously that's not canon, but that's like proof that Shiki was always like part of Oda's general scheme for a canon character. Where it's like Oda is Viver card data book movie bullshit. Nope, he's nope. Unless you can
Yeah,
find
like
interviews in
I
SBS like the Shiki ones, then no.
yeah, like the thing is like this was like one of our first bad One Piece opinion. It's like literally the first one when we talk about Yamato, right? It's like And like since then we've gotten
Oh
some
my god,
comments
and that
about.
Viver card got translated again, and people are having the same fucking arguments again.
Yeah, no, so like sometimes we'll get in our comment section people using viewer cards as proof for one thing or another, and like I just can't take it seriously as proof because like
No.
there's upwards to 100 mistakes, including but not limited to Marco can regen infinitely, which contradicts the
Sanji is
SBS
from the
and the.
South
Yes, it
Blue.
said Sanji was from the South Blue. It said Shanks was an emperor when we met Luffy, but later we learned in the manga that it was like 6 years ago, so that's wrong. So like again, like there's also like a bunch of spelling errors that they admit to, and like you can look at the website to all the mistakes they made, and just like, can you really take this seriously as a larger part or like a reliable source for like the lore that the manga has not touched? I personally
Right.
would not. There's a very weak case for it, and
Yeah.
like Oda's signature to me at least doesn't make it so.
No, because like to me, the only canon things are the manga, because no fucking shit. The SBS, because the SBS are literally included when you buy like the physical versions of the manga. They are a part of the manga.
Yeah.
And then but even then, like SBS, like the canonness. When analyzing how canon the SBS is, you also need to know what jokes are.
Yeah, that's another
Because
thing
if you
we
don't know
get
what
to.
jokes are, you're gonna think Dadan can body Kaido and like Kaido and like
Yeah.
Shanks.
Yeah.
So you need to know what jokes are. And then third thing, and this is literally like the most quasi, I think the single most quasi canon thing in the whole One Piece like franchise continuity is Chapter Zero.
Okay, the thing is like it is like supposed to be canon, but like it doesn't feel like it is because it's
Because the
advertising
last
the
two
movie.
chapters don't make any sense in the canon, and also there's like
You mean
tiny
pages? You
contradictions
mean
if you want.
pages?
Oh yeah, last three changes, and also if you want to be like a smartass, you can be like Hachi was supposed to be a teenager in that, but when we saw him, he was like 8. But like, who cares? Maybe he was a slow-growing fish man or
Yeah.
something. um, no, it's just like because Chapter Zero is like literally everything, but like the last 3 pages are like so like clearly canon backstory, but then they're just not. So it's like I don't fucking know. Maybe and it's like I don't care because like it doesn't need to be because also like outside of cool Shiki lore, which I like knowing because I like Shiki, everything important we learn about in Strong World we see other places. Like I'm pretty sure we see Roger's egg places other than Chapter Zero, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. So Roger's egg. Um, I guess we hear that Roger had access to an ancient weapon, but also like Oda could retcon that in a heartbeat because maybe Shiki was just talking shit.
Yeah, or like he's just like assuming that because like the One Piece or like he's been to Wano. Maybe Shiki like knows that Pluton's in Wano or whatever.
Right, because like there's a lot of theories that Shiki might be from Wano, which would be the more we know about Wano, the more fun the everyone is from Wano theories get because they make less and less sense, and it's way more fun to try and force it in.
Yeah. And I know another thing a lot of people push for being like canon is the anime, but like again that like makes no sense because like sometimes.
That's based on like the stupid nonsense belief that Oda tells them to add things because he helped
All right,
with
like.
Log Town, and that was literally it. It's
Yeah,
the
like to
only
be
known
fair, there is at
example.
least one subplot that Oda like asked them to do, and it was Daddy the Father. Other than that,
Daddy,
I have seen no evidence for like
wasn't
any
it Daddy
particular.
Masterson?
I thought it was Daddy the Didn't they change it to Daddy the Maybe that I'm just thinking like dubbed brain because like that's maybe I am.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, the subplot
Daddy
where
Master. Oh,
Usopp.
it's both. We're stupid.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, so it's when Usopp fights that sniper guy who like dueled Yasop back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like that's like the one thing which, and even then I can't say that's canon to the manga because it's not in the manga. And like, I
Mm-hmm.
can't like pick and choose what I want from the anime to be canon because that's illogical. So like
Right.
again, and the anime will just have scenes done like differently just outright, like say
Yeah. Like
Caesar
we were
Caesar
watching.
Caesar catches the grizzly magnum in the anime and they have a
Yeah.
pushback. That's
Or
not how
like
it
an
goes in the
interesting
manga.
one is we were watching a theory about Zoro and Kuina,
Yeah.
and they brought up something that not a lot of theory channels or even analysis channels bring up, which is Zoro's backstory is radically different in the anime. Like it is insanely different.
Yeah, like
Like they,
Kyoshiro, Kuina's dad is like a sexist in the anime but not in the
he's
manga.
like she can't inherit the dojo because she's a woman. That just straight up doesn't happen in the manga. And like that makes sense because like if he thinks she's so cringe and can't be a swordsman, why the hell is he training her?
Yeah.
um, just a lot of stuff like Zoro doesn't actually try using like a billion swords until after Kuina dies. He only uses two because the point is his style of taking on more swords than one could is because he's taking on more people's dreams. He's becoming more than just himself.
Yeah.
It's cool. Also, just one funny thing about novels. People are like, "Well, are the Ace and Law, or like not the yeah, are the Ace novels canon?" It's like, I don't know. I don't want them to be because I don't think they're very good. And like, are the Law novels canon? Are the Heroine novels canon? What about the One Piece Odyssey novel? Is that canon?
What about Shokugeki no Sanji?
Or what about the? Okay, no, that's obviously not canon. All right, here's another fun one, Puff. There's novel adaptations of filler arcs and OVAs in movies.
Yeah.
Like the Dragon filler arc from the East Blue got a novel. 3D2Y got a novel. Like half the movies have novels. Even the ones no one cares about, like the Holy Cursed Sword, got a fucking novel. So like I'm just going to fully reject novels until I have a reason to not do that.
Yeah, like yeah, we take like a purist approach basically, and just if it's not like the manga, then like there's really no reason to take it as canon. I don't think.
Yeah, because it's not like it adds to the analysis at all.
Also,
Like,
like again, like
does
with people
Mask Deduce make Ace a more interesting character? Not fucking really.
and like about like Oda's involvement or like the thing is, One Piece is like one of the largest franchises on the planet at this point, like media
Hmm.
franchises. So I think it's like straight up impossible for one man to like
Oh yeah,
control it
no,
all.
I just call bullshit. Are you telling me this very old man who's been working on One Piece for 26 years 26 or 27 years at this point has been who currently gets a break every 3 weeks? Are you telling me he has enough free time to oversee the anime, the live action, every fucking Viver card, every fucking live action episode, everything with enough scrutiny and detail that we can trust them all completely? No,
Okay,
I don't
I
believe
guess
you.
I guess to be fair, it's possible that like he gets so many frequent breaks to have more time to like work with like the live action
But
or the movies or
also,
whatever.
does it just make sense
That
that he gets
might be
frequent
like
breaks because
that's a
he's like an
plausible
old
idea.
mangaka?
Yeah, no, it's just that's a plausible idea that like it might be possible,
But
that
that
might be
just
true,
doesn't
but
make
like
sense based on what we
again,
know
like
about mangaka.
I don't know if there's any evidence for that, but like that sounds plausible
No.
to me. But still,
Yeah,
even
but
then,
what
like still,
makes
I
more
don't think
sense to
even
me,
with that much more free time, I don't think he can control it
no.
all with accuracy.
Especially because in my heart, I want Oda to be taking a break on those breaks because, like, look at his two contemporaries, Kubo and Kishimoto. Kishimoto does an unknown amount of involvement in Boruto, and then Kubo has two new series that he releases new chapters whenever the fuck he feels like
How
it.
long has it been since that last Bleach chapter? Like a year?
Oh, like years at this
Oh
point.
no! And Burn the
And
Witch
he
2
no,
was like
and when
2 or 3 years
no,
ago.
no, and when asked, yeah, I said, yeah, I'm making more chapters just when I feel like it. So like, and also just the fact, like, even look at like the newer era, Jujutsu Kaisen and MHA are both on break this week because author's health is important.
I mean, I think for MHA it said like an extended break because they're nearing the end. So like
Yeah, it makes
Horikoshi's gonna
sense.
do maybe Horikoshi might do like a double length chapter because some manga do that at the end.
Yeah, epilogue.
Yeah.
And also just like maybe they're trying to avoid like what happened with Bleach, where the author had to rush their own ending because they were dying.
Yeah.
They're sick as hell. So maybe like like yeah, sure, you're reaching the end. You can have breaks. Hey, that's probably the same with Jujutsu. Jujutsu's getting close to a break, and you can tell that Gege is not doing great because there were some rough panels in the last chapter, and not like unfinished panels. It's like this poor fuck. Just like rough panels, where it's like no, he's not doing too hot. Puff, I'll send it in manga. I'll send it in voice chat
Is
in
it gonna
this
have
general chat.
spoilers?
No, this
Uh,
is they.
is that Gojo? Is that supposed to be Gojo at the top?
Yeah, there's a reason his face looks weird, but I don't think it's supposed to look that weird. Also, this chapter was like 9 pages, which is like an Ippo thing. Well, there's another one. Morikawa has been making manga a little bit longer than Oda, and guess what? Instead of the he takes breaks every 3 weeks thing, he will just release like 5 6 page chapters in a row,
Yeah. All right.
which I hate. I wish he'd just take breaks instead.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we talked enough about that.
Yeah.
Next I want to talk about how maps are fake.
Oh, like every One Piece map.
Yeah, because like the thing is,
Yeah.
One Piece has been very like stingy with showing us world maps, and like the couple examples I remember people always point to is that like when Shaki's telling Luffy about the other supernova and how they all travel different parts of the Grand Line, and then like when Reverie happened, like it showed the a picture of the globe for a minute. Now, some people like really like to delve deep into these things and like look for implication stuff, but like I feel like they're not drawn for accuracy.
right?
At least not the Shaggy one, because in that case, then Alabasta would be like the same size as whatever island Luffy visited before and afterwards, which would be Little Garden, or sorry, Drum, and then Mocktown. So like, I doubt they're the same size as Alabasta, considering how long it
Well,
takes to
also
travel
just
across
like another thing
Alabasta.
is like whenever Oda actually draws maps, like the Wano map, he makes it big and labels it because when he makes a map that you're supposed to understand because it's important to the story, he makes it understandable.
Yeah. So like, I
Whereas like
guess it's not. I guess
using
it's
like I remember like a lot of people would use the live action map to try and prove things, and like
yeah.
we've already talked about, like, that's dumb as shit.
Yeah, and like I guess honestly, it's not the worst thing because like if let's say you're a calc man, you kind of have to work with what you're
Well,
given
Puff,
with.
Calcmen already like always skirt the line on canon. They don't give a shit.
Yeah, but it's not like the worst thing in the world to use, but just like I personally would not.
Well, no, it's also just like if your theory hinges on a map, it's like you should probably find a better backbone for your theory.
Yeah. All right. Next is some people act like civilians have as much knowledge as us readers sometimes.
Oh, it's crazy
Yeah.
how people are always just
Like
like, why didn't the civilians do this? It's like, what the fuck do you think they know?
I mean, like I think the last example we had like a comment last time where we talked about someone like said like the people were worried Wiper was gonna destroy the planet, even though
Right.
like
We
most
already
people.
talked about that though. It's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's worried. They're worried that it'll topple the government.
But
I'm
like
just like,
another
yeah, like
example is like
East Blue is stupid. They don't know what devil fruits are.
yeah, like another example I can think of is that this was back in the day when we first like saw Lucia blow up, and I was talking with this one guy, and
Oh, this
he's
was the thing how like no one knew Lucia sunk, which was confirmed like last chapter.
yeah, and so like he said like dude like I can't believe the woman always had a weapon like this, but like I was like all right, this is probably either a recent development or something they can't afford to use too often, because if it was, then they wouldn't need Buster Calls at all. They just use this over and over. And he's like, but dude, if they use this, everyone would know. Everyone would be suspicious. I'm like, what are you talking about?
No.
People know
Okay.
about O'Hara and how it was blown up. Like if they use this thing, it would be the most discreet. It's literally the most discreet way to blow up a planet is just to like airstrike it and then leave. Like if O'Hara
Yeah,
just disappeared
it's
overnight, civilians could just assume that like it was a natural disaster or something. Like the government
yeah.
can just feign ignorance as long as it wants in a situation like that. Like if no one's there to see it, right?
Especially because we now, yeah, have absolute confirmation that the laser thing was an ancient weapon, and it's like, yeah, um, ancient weapons are supposed to be like incomparably strong in the One Piece verse, so it makes sense that like when people come across the aftermath of it, they don't automatically assume, oh, I bet the government did this, because they'd be like, what the fuck did this?
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's kind of like even like something way more small scale. When we saw Punk Hazard, at first it's like this is insane. What did this? Then we heard Kuzan and Sakazuki did it, and it's like holy shit.
Yeah. And also like another thing like when Pacifista like were shown like at Marineford like through the transponder still like to the news people, they were like, what the fuck is that? Why was there more than one Kuma?
Yeah.
And like another example I could pull, this is the same guy by the way. It's when it was at the end of Wano where like some guy said, "Man, the person who saved us, I forget were they if they were referring to Luffy as by his name or by Joy Boy.
Hmm.
They said, man, that guy is like as much a hero as Ryuma or like something along those lines. And he thought that like that was like a statement that says Ryuma is as strong as current Luffy. And I'm like, what?
No,
How?
dude, no, that's the
How?
author. That's the author using the power of association. Luffy would have stood next to Ryuma if he was alive. Therefore,
Well, it's just like, all right, this guy like could not have been alive when Ryuma was, and also he didn't see the battle on Onigashima, so it's like, how would he judge? And also, he's not even bringing up strength. It's just kind of weird. Yeah, just remember that most civilians in One Piece are like literally like unaware of what's 99% of what's happening outside of their island, right?
yeah.
All right. Next is mothering mode is objectively bad writing.
Oh,
Do you remember
like
this?
Yeah. What was their reason? Just that, like,
It was
why can't
okay.
she
So
be
like
like
basically,
hyper logical all the time or
all right.
something?
So basically, Big Mom's mothering mode is that when she sees a little kid, she'll enter her mothering mode, quote unquote, and then she'll just be nice to them and think they're cute and stuff. And people think that's like objectively bad because then it like makes no sense with like say Pudding's backstory or any of her other kids, or like how could she be abusive to her kids if she loves kids? This makes no sense.
I feel like that's brain dead because you can either do that with real moms. You can have a lady who, when they see like a cute kid on the street, they're like, "Oh my god, he's so cute," and then she can go back and like beat her kids. Like that's just a thing that happens in real life. I'm
And also
sorry.
like you gotta remember, most of Big Mom's bad parenting is unintentional. Like it's more so careless than anything else. Like when she's thinking
hmm
like Pudding's about third, it's oh yeah, that's ugly. Cover it up, please, Pudding. Anyway, when you
hmm
cover it up, you look cute again. I like that. And
Yeah,
like she's like
like
thinking
like
herself
she's
that
terrible
yeah,
because like that's partly just because she's stupid.
yeah.
Like
So like
Big Mom is malicious, but she's malicious towards like Luffy. She doesn't realize just like she doesn't realize just how much she's like completely fucked her family over.
yeah, like remember that one scene where like she's surrounded by all the like young kids in the Big Mom family, and she says like,
And
"Listen,
she's
kids,
like murder is
you'll
based.
yeah, no, she says, listen, kids, everyone has at least 100 or 200 people they want to kill, but you're all brothers and sisters, so just get along." So, like, she doesn't, like, solve their problem with Anya, like, stabbing other kids or, like, people's stuffed animals. She just laughs it off, says, be friends, and then leaves. Like, she's not a good mom, and, like, she thinks she's a good mom, but she's not. She's a careless mother, pretty much. And that's, like, why
Yeah,
she, yeah. So even
it's
if she
kind of
thinks kids are cute, that doesn't mean she's gonna be a good mom.
yeah, it's kind of like how Big Mom tries to have like better moral standards when it comes to like civilian treatment and leadership than like Kaido's crew. And like she kind of does.
Yeah, I mean,
She's
she tries her
doing
best.
her best.
I mean, if you ignore her hunger pans, it's like way better than Wano.
I mean, like that's the bar is in hell,
I
but
know, like
still,
Wano is a low bar, but
like Wano is actually like one of, if not the worst, like country we've been to in terms of like situation and leadership.
yeah. So next also has to do with Whole Cake Island. It's people who victim blame Pudding.
I love when there's like a 16-year-old that's in the most toxic family in the world. It's so funny to be mad at Pudding, but then be like, Katakuri, that 50-year-old man, I forgive him for being a baby who's scared to show his disfigurement. It's like, hey man, if you're gonna be patient with Katakuri, despite the fact that he's literally 48, you can be patient with Pudding.
Yeah, I know, it's like one thing like I remember the term like people would always bring up is that like oh it's like what you're made out of. Like Sanji was also in a fucked up situation, but he managed to like get out of it and then like grow as a good person. But like
um, I think
Sanji,
one
like
big
there's a couple things wrong that went in a
I
direct
think the
comparison with
single
Pudding.
biggest one is that when Sanji wanted to leave, the judge told him to fuck off. Big Mom would not have let Pudding leave.
Yeah, like that's actually a thing in Totland. No one's allowed to leave. Like if you try and leave, you get put on the. You have to do the big Wheel of Fortune thing, and Big Mom takes off one of your limbs or
Yeah,
something.
in a sense, like literally, like that was like one of the best things about Judge's cruelty is that because he genuinely had like no compassion for Sanji in his heart, Sanji was all able to leave and find like a better place.
Yeah. Also, like Sanji had like two good parent figures growing up. Sora, his mom, and then later on, Zeph. So like, let's say like like obviously he's an upstanding person now because of those two people and their influence on him. Whereas
Right.
putting like I guess like her most positive influence that we can see so far is Chiffon, and then like Chiffon like left the family, but like as a result of leaving, like was basically like like disowned by the family, and Big Mom wants her dead.
Not to mention like
So
being
like again
called
like there's ways to get out of the Big Mom pirates, but like it's very risky to do so, and you can't exactly blame someone, especially someone as young as Pudding, for not like trying to get out, right?
yeah. It's just like also was Pudding like a little bit sadistic and cruel. Yeah, a bit. She was raised by the Big Mom pirates. I'm not expecting moral purity here.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting that from a like a Brule. Ooh, I love you, Brule. Also, you have probably killed like 100 people.
Yeah.
Like you tried to boil people alive, Brule. You are a psychopath.
And I was about to say shit. What was I about to say? Oh my god, I'm so bad. Okay,
Good job, Puff. I'm so proud of you. What's
yeah.
next?
Next is this is actually a couple ideas we had for like end game power ups, maybe for villains, maybe for main characters, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
first one is that Blackbeard will get a nightmare form, like Nightmare Luffy, because dreams are a theme, and Blackbeard's
Yeah,
a
oh dude, I remember
nightmare.
I
Yeah.
said that because I thought a theory channel was gonna go there and then they didn't. I got mad because I thought that was a more fun idea. Because it's like, oh, if Luffy's becoming like the dream man clad in white, how about Blackbeard takes up the nightmare form that we've seen before? It makes sense. He presumably has access to Moria's fruit through either Moria or like he killed him or something, so like he might have access to the fruit and like he has Hachinosu, a place full of a bunch of bozo pirates he could easily get shadows from, and it would help make him bigger. One Piece loves big villains. It's a fun idea.
Yeah. Oh,
Like I'm
also,
not.
like, it's kind of a funny, like, maybe Blackbeard will be able to hold more shadows because his fruit, the darkness fruit, can, like, suck
Oh,
things
we can
in.
just absorb them. That'd be funny.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
anyway,
it's just
like,
like I'm not banking on this. I'm like, oh, this is definitely gonna happen. It was just like random thought. I'd be like, oh, if that happened, that'd be kind of cool. I wouldn't say no.
yeah. And then this is another one that, like, I hope they bring back, but, like, it's not likely. I want Wapple to fuse people again, like, for, like, somewhere in, like,
Oh,
the
if you keep
ending.
bringing that up, he doesn't actually fuse people. He literally just stacks them.
I know, but wouldn't it be so funny if, like, I don't know, he, like, Vivi and him get caught up in the final battle, and it's like, hold on, I got this, and then he eats, like, I don't know, Carrot and then Wanda and just spits them out. It's like, go fight them now. You're souped up now.
I prefer if we used the half of Wapple's powers that we know are like good, which is the combining materials or assimilating weapons.
Oh, so,
Like
like, he eats Pluton.
oh, I joked about that like 100 times. What happens if Wapple eats an ancient weapon? What powers does he gain from that?
All right.
Wapple eats the mother flame. He gets the stupid fire form that everyone's been drawing Gear 5 with. Yeah, Wapple can just assimilate with like any inanimate object that he eats. That's just a thing he can do.
Yeah. All right. Next is Nami is the third Straw Hat.
Oh yeah, I'm right. Oda agrees with me. Fuck you. Basically, people are like, Nami didn't actually join until Arlong Park because, and the reasons vary. It's like she thought she didn't like she knew who she was going to betray them. It's like so she was still like a part of them, like she was still part of the crew. Two, she didn't actually agree to join. She said the deal thing, but also Luffy deadass said, "You're joining my crew," and she's like, "For now." So like yeah, she promised to join, and also just like every SBS like the one I think of is like the post time skip SBS where everyone's like, hey Oda, can you fill me in on everyone? And he's like, sure, and he lists all the Straw Hats. He lists like name, age, hockey level when they joined. Shocker, Nami's third. Or like that one color spread of all the Straw Hat sites G makes he hadn't joined yet, and they each have a number on them for when they joined, and Nami's is 3 because she's the third fucking Straw Hat. And it's like, also, this just works thematically. Because sure, Nami might not have thought that she was a part of the crew, but in her heart and the hearts of all the crew, she was already a member.
No, you see, Luffy doesn't care about consent. As soon as he picks you, you're in. There's no way out.
The point is, like, even she knew she was a part of the crew, she just didn't want to admit it.
Yeah.
No, it's just like, it's both like a thematic misunderstanding and like a literal misunderstanding. It's just like wrong from no matter how you look at it. It's just like, yeah, sorry, Nami was the third member. Fuck you.
All right.
Accept it or be wrong.
Okay. Next is Nika was in chapter 1, which this is
Oh, that's a guy I was arguing
it's
with.
weird. This take is more I don't know if it's more common than it should be, or if it's just a vocal minority. I think it's a vocal minority.
One was a commenter I'll get to. I argued with you all week and I hated it. I'm not doing it anymore. But I'm not I'm not 16 anymore. I can't passionately argue with people online in the comments and
No, we're past the
get
amino
joy
days.
out of
We
it.
don't have the endurance anymore.
I have to do this now, where I bottle up everything and then vent.
Now that we're doing it in a video format, it's harder for you to respond because we are the
No,
authors of the
it's
video.
more like I can say it all at once and then move on. It's so nice.
Yeah. So it comes from the perspective, right? Because everyone, like, especially theory channels, they love it when everything's connected and, like, like foreshadowing makes Lagoda makes la good writing and all that, which like we've already talked about a bit. Like foreshadowing is the end all be all. Most of the
Right.
time, it's used retroactive. Like Oda will take past elements and incorporate them or reuse them. It's not that they were always planned. Or at least if it was, then the story would probably be very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh.
well,
Please include this over the Nami section. I'll send a screenshot of it. This is at the end of one chapter. But also, the two main things for chapter one. One is like the stupid thing the live action did, where it's like, the fruit called to Luffy. Devil fruit's called to you, and it's like, Luffy just fucking ate a fruit on the counter because he's a greedy, hungry little shithead. And then second is like the commenter I was talking to who said the fruit quote unquote made him happier. It was just Luffy was talking to the fisher, the guy who sells fish, right after he got his devil fruit, and he's like, "Hi, guy who sells fish. How?" Well, it's like unknown amount of time since Shanks left, I think, but like
yeah.
you can assume it's been like what, maybe like a week or something, like maybe even like 2 days. But he's like, "Hey, Mister Fishmonger, give me that fish." And he's like, "Rubber boy, why are you in such a good mood lately?" And Luffy's like, "One, I will simply never fall in the water. Two, I'm glad I ate my devil fruit. Look at my funny stretching powers."
The thing,
Because
it's kind of weird to compare Luffy's personality before and after eating the fruit because we get like
this is
20
like the
pages
youngest we,
max. Yeah,
yeah,
and
this is
like
like the
20
youngest
pages
we see.
max.
And it's not like anyone, and but also even that's kind of goofy because like the thing that inspired Shanks, the thing Luffy said that sounded like Roger, presumably happened before he ate the devil fruit because we didn't see Luffy say it
Yeah. Or like 'cause
because it's
again, like
whatever
if
his
what
weird
if
dream is.
yeah, if this weird dream was said in chapter 1, like what could have Luffy has possibly said besides I'm going to surpass you and get a better crew?
Yeah, so like, it's so like presumably he said it before he ate the devil fruit.
Yeah.
Also, just like another whole Nika changed Luffy thing. When Luffy awakens, and Kaido talks to Luffy in his awakened form, he says, "Who are you?" And Luffy says, "I'm Monkey D. Luffy. I'm gonna be king of pirates," showing that he's clearly still himself. And then I think you said Craft Store brought it up in a video.
Yeah, this is kind of like
Lucci
about the
and
Destiny piece stuff about like
yeah,
people
but we
thinking
can
maybe
just say
Nika's
we can just do it now
personality is
because it's
taking over
quick.
Luffy's.
About because it's like devil fruit's taking you over. We're outright told that like when you zone awaken, you have to suppress the ability, and that's what Lucci's doing. And guys, quick question: does Luffy look more like Lucci's awakening or the Jailer Beasts?
Yeah, because like the jail beast, they said like the animal, like they act more animalistic, implying that like the fruit's doing more than they are,
Yeah,
or like
like which
the
one do
animal
you
inside the
think
fruit is
Luffy
like
is?
the animal instincts are taking over their sense of reasoning, whereas Lucci's like completely in control. He's still
Yeah.
himself.
Or like, here's another thing with the Jailer Beasts. They don't seem like they can de-transform on their own. Like, I don't think they have a way to. I think they're stuck like that.
They might be.
Unless you like, I don't know, maybe like Sea Stone cuff them or something.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I get it's weird. We don't have enough context to say that
No,
much.
but that is the because like they get like knocked out repeatedly and they stay transformed.
Well, I mean that sometimes happens with zone users too, right? Like I think Lucci was still in his hybrid form after he like passed
No,
out
he
after.
de-transformed after a bit.
Oh,
So did
okay,
Kaku.
all right, cool.
No, you de-transform eventually. I'm pretty sure. No, but it's also just like the fact like yeah they seem to be constantly in that and just like obviously Jailer Beast can't even fucking talk.
Yeah.
Luffy's pretty clearly still himself. So that's dumb. So basically, it's also just like I think trying to retroactively make everything Nika ends up like hurting the story because instead of it being like, oh cool, Luffy uses these cool creative rubber powers, and then when he awakens, he can just go full dumbass mode. Instead, it's like, no, you fucking idiot. Luffy wasn't made of rubber. He gaslit himself into thinking he was rubber. You idiot! And then his Nika powers turned him into rubber. All the awakening did was give him white hair and make it more obvious.
Yeah, I know it's a thing where people think like Red Hawk is like Nika. I think we brought this up in an earlier Bad One Piece opinion before.
We brought it
too.
up a lot. We're basically, yeah, fire powers in One Piece are normal. Why? There's no reason to be suspicious of Red Hawk.
Yeah, and like the thing about like Luffy like inflating his bones to make it like Gear 3 and like like in real life logic, putting air into your fist wouldn't make it stronger. But like One Piece has always been like fast and
In
loose.
real life
Like,
logic, you can't do what Zoro does with his mouth sword.
yeah, you
In
cannot
real
make
life
tornadoes
logic,
with swords.
you
in
can't
real
make
life.
the climate tact.
No.
Like even ignoring like the dial ones, just the first one Usopp made, you can't do that. It's not a thing. And it's also just like, yeah, it's just like Luffy was just like a rubbery guy before he awakened, and the story was pretty consistent with that.
Yeah. I mean, some people try and say like, dude, he was obviously always his own because he was so physically strong and could recover from things quickly. But
So
like,
could Zoro.
I mean, it's kind of weird because like Luffy as a little kid still was pathetically weak compared to like Sabo, Ace, Higuma, and etc. Like mooks
Yeah,
like Blue Jam could beat him up still.
yeah.
So again, like the Nika fruit's weird. Maybe it did give him a physical boost somehow. That makes some sense because
No, yeah, maybe it gave him a big, because it is a zone, but even then, they do outright say that the awakening gives him a strength buff. They don't mention anything about the base fruit doing that. But, like, sure, maybe it gave him a bit of a strength buff, but it doesn't really matter, because, like, yeah, there's plenty of people who can match the raw strength of zones with their, like, natural strength. There's tons and tons of characters that can do
Yeah,
that.
and recovering quickly is just a thing that like Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji all do. Like in Thriller
Yeah.
Bark, like
How many
Usopp says
buckets of
Usopp
blood do you...
Usopp says the line, "A pretty female swordswoman brought a lot of meat," and they all immediately
And it
wake up from
recovers
this.
all of them.
Yeah, and Moriya's like, "Oh, it's okay. After I take someone's shadow, they're out for a day, always, at the very least, bare minimum, a day, definitely. But then they're up
And
for
then
like a
that
couple
doesn't
hours because
work.
they're just
Or
like
like,
tough
or like
boys."
one thing that I always think of is like, how many buckets of blood did Zoro lose fighting Mr. One?
Half. That was just
I
half.
know.
It spit
Half
out a
his
lot,
blood.
dude. They spit it out a lot. Half a
Half
bucket
his
of
blood.
half a bucket. They just spread it out a lot.
No,
Okay.
no, half of his blood is a more realistic answer. Or even just like other impossible injuries. Like in Drum, when Sanji got hit by that avalanche, he got a spinal injury, and he recovered in like 2 days with medical attention, but he still recovered in 2 days from a spinal injury
Or dude, you remember when
that he
Wappa
got by
literally-
getting hit by an avalanche.
You remember when Wappa literally lost his head, like it got lopped off?
That is my favorite one. The 20 MD are so good that they can literally like heal a decapitated person.
uh, so again, like you can, like, I understand the temptation to try and like like obviously now that Nika's a thing, like we have to like understand how it fits into earlier parts of the story and stuff. Like, and we talked a bit about that.
But like,
But,
I
like,
think what I brought up.
I
with
feel
the
like
person I
we
was
can
arguing
all.
with-
I feel like we can, we can say with confidence that Oda didn't plan Nika from chapter one,
No,
or if at
which
least
is
he
fine.
did.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's okay. Like it was like a.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the thing is, like I feel like it could have fit in the story better if like Luffy was still a paramecia. Because like then
Whatever,
like
yeah.
you wouldn't have to like have that confusion of like, oh, which is his hybrid
Right.
form or whatever.
I don't care about that. I just assume he doesn't have one. Oh, another thing that I like is
What?
the guy I was arguing with brought this up. I would say the first like genuine time where you could be like, yeah, maybe this was just supposed to be clear cut zone awakening is in Wano. The first time we start seeing Devil Fruit users consistently have the Cloud Hog aroma that Luffy got in Gear 4 was Wano with people like Yamato and maybe Kaido. And it's like, oh, look, other mythical zones.
Actually,
Because
Kaido
before
had,
that-
I think Kaido was actually closer to the Jailer Beast because he has that like when we first see his hybrid form, his arms aren't like too.
No,
big.
I'm bringing up Kaido because he's weird. Because also Momo has a Hagoromo. My point is just that like the only characters we've seen have anything resembling Luffy's Cloud Scarf were other mythical zones. So it's like, oh, maybe that was Oda hinting that Gear 4's Cloud Scarf should be like suspected. And I'm like, yeah, that's entirely possible, sure, because I do think that Oda probably came up with Nika in like or like maybe he like was deciding on it for a while. I think by Wano he decided on it. Like he was like, yeah, I'm definitely doing this. So like any foreshadowing you see in Wano, yeah, that's probably true. I agree. Unless you think like his Nika powers are why that one thing was floating in the sumo ring. It wasn't Shiki, it was Nika.
This is one thing I want to reread like the Kaido fight before I say this with any confidence, but I think maybe Kaido was awakened, like maybe he was like he might have been awakened the same way that Jailer Beasts were, because like when we first see his hybrid
If he was
form,
even awakened.
yeah, like things because we see his hybrid form like when we first see it, like his arms aren't like huge or anything, but then like when he starts getting drunk, they get a lot bigger and beefier.
Oh,
so like
Kaido gets like wide when he gets drunk.
yeah, so it might
But,
be that
you know,
he might have
or
also
maybe-
like he might have also been like awakened, but like the lesser form of awakening that the Jailer Beast had possibly.
Or maybe it's just like he has presumably definitely at that point the strongest zone user we had ever met. Maybe he just has more control over his fruit. Like Lucci with
Yeah, like
life
life
return
return.
is
Yeah.
able to fuck with his body size. So maybe Kaido can
And
do
like
something
even
similar.
Luffy does that too with like his different forms of Gear 4, like Snake Man,
Yeah.
Skinny, Bound
Or
Man,
like
Celestial Man.
Chopper can do it without the Rumble Ball now.
Yeah.
So like
Or like
fucking with your zone.
yeah,
So
even
like you
like
don't need Awaken.
Kaku's a very
Oh yeah,
weak
Kaku. Oh
or
yeah, but
like
CP9 has basically
or
there
like
are
even
several.
without CP9's like thing, you could look at like the Triceracopter, although I think that might just be like what Triceratops do
No,
in
no.
the One
In
Piece
One Piece,
world.
I think that's canonically just what Triceratops did.
That's awesome. That
So
is still the
basically,
best
just
running joke in all of Wano.
Kaido thing could be awakened, but also just from what we've seen of zones in One Piece, people who are really strong as zones are just pretty good at fucking with their form anyway. So like, who cares?
Yeah.
What's next?
All right, so next we got some Zoro ones. All right, so Zoro and Sanji's death pact is proof that they hate each other.
That's so funny when it is actually like the most like gay thing they've ever done.
I know. So
It's like the gayest thing in the series.
like all right. Obviously, like if you asked Zoro or Sanji who's the Straw Hat, you'd like be least sad if they died. They'd say the other one.
But
So
that's also because like they are tsundere.
yeah, so they don't want to. They'll never admit how much they care for each other because that's part of the dynamic.
Because like as early on as Arlong Park, Zoro and Sanji are both risking their lives to save each other.
Yeah, or like even like when they're fighting King and Queen, like like King's about to attack Sanji, Zoro blocks it, and Queen's about to attack Zoro, Sanji blocks it. So like there's this unspoken respect between the two of them, obviously, and like
Yeah.
the death, like I imagine like Sanji asks Zoro to kill him if he goes like if his German powers take over or whatever, because Zoro's the only like Zoro, Luffy, and
He can't ask Luffy to do it.
okay,
So like,
Zoro, Luffy, and Jinbei are the only people strong enough to do it, and Jinbei's new, so he doesn't really know Jinbei
Dude,
that
that'd be
well.
such an awkward thing to ask Jinbei. It's literally his first day. He's like, "Hey, new guy."
Yeah, Sanji or like Luffy would never accept it, like ever, like
No.
never ever. So like that just leaves Zoro, and like Zoro already, because like they have that antagonistic relationship, would be the most possibly the most willing among the whole crew to do it. And he doesn't want to ask like the others to gang up on him because most of them will just object outright. So like Sanji, like Zoro's the only one who has even a chance of like going through with it. So like, yeah. And
Yeah,
even then, I imagine
makes
imagine if Zoro did like let's say hypothetically like this had happened and Zoro had to fight Sanji. I imagine he'd only go through with it not because he hates Sanji, but because he respects Sanji's wishes and like wanted to like
Yeah.
not like let him down in that regard.
I think you are. I think you're either way too like Sanji versus Zoro brain, or you're just not that good at like understanding emotions. If you don't understand that Zoro and Sanji do like care about each other quite clearly.
Yeah. All right.
It's
So
like they bicker, but also like Zoro also bickers like crazy with Nami. And literally, when Zoro learns how to cut steel, the crewmate he's the most worried about is Nami.
yeah. All right. So our next Zoro one is Zoro only fights post time skip. I mean nothing
What was that?
else.
Wait, what does that mean?
He's only like the big strong swordsman guy now. He doesn't get
Oh,
any
like
cool
he doesn't
character
do
anymore.
anything else.
Yeah. Dude, do you remember
Counterpoint.
I think this
Wait,
was
what the
I think this was an Anime Balls Deep video. But like I remember like
Mhm.
he and this other guy were like we're going to like do a collab
Oh,
and talk about
glaze
those
Zoro for like an
Yeah,
hour.
and then like the first guy came in, he just like pretty well, I'd say, like
No,
describes
honestly,
Zoro's
for
character
like
arc.
for the type of channel they are, they did a great job.
Yeah, like so it's like oh yeah, in Mr. One Fight, cutting nothing is a metaphor for friendship. Then Thriller Bark, like
Mhm.
uh you
They,
know
yeah, Puff. It's a 50-minute video. Do you know at what point they start talking about the post time skip?
it's like 40 or like something, right?
It's minute 41.
I know, and then like so like it's Mr. Anime Balls Deep comes in, right, and it's like, well,
Anime Balls
Sanji
Deep 2.
in
Oh,
Fishman
Zoro
Island,
was-
Zoro totally stomps the octopus guy, showing how much stronger he's gone since the time skip. And then in Punk
should
Hazard,
know about gender equality. Get him, Zoro.
and then in Just Rosa, he totally dicks on Pika, showing how strong his arm in hockey became. And then
it's genuinely like it's impressive how they were able to like apply actual analysis. It almost makes me wonder if that's because it's a lot easier to find other people's analysis of pre-time skip Zoro Zoro, but a lot harder to find people's analysis of post times against Zoro. It's like, guys, shocker. First of all, Zoro is almost nothing but a fight man. He's like Kenpachi. As a guy who loves fighting, he gets his best development in like fights because that just makes sense. Because that's his path.
Yeah.
But like he develops his new fights. Like for the millionth time, the Monet fight is about how even though the Straw Hats are so much stronger and so cool, there are still some weaknesses they need to overcome. That Punk Hazard actually touched on that with a lot of them.
Yeah, like Luffy got careless against Caesar and like got gassed.
Got owned. Zoro still can't fight seriously against women, and Sanji, his chivalry kind of bit him in the ass a little bit, and he got his leg broken.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, that arc, Punk Hazard, while doing a lot of things, one thing I think that's kind of the cool dichotomy. Fishman Island was basically just Straw Hats, cool, awesome, they're gonna fuck shit up. Punk Hazard is like, they're not all that, though.
Yeah. Like,
they're still the Straw Hats.
Yeah, like, at the end of the day, there's only 3 antagonists on Punk Hazard, so, like, they were going in as the overdogs, but they ended up getting taken off guard, like, in certain parts, so it's like, okay, yeah, we were too overconfident and stuff.
Or, like Monet almost beat Luffy. That's crazy.
It kind of reminds me of like Skypiea and Longring, where it's just like Luffy beats someone way above his weight class in Enel just because he has like the perfect matchup, but then has to fight Foxy, who's like way weaker than him. But because Foxy's like a tricky little piece of shit, Luffy struggles so much because Luffy's so dumb.
I will never get over the fact that Foxy was infinitely closer to killing Luffy than Enel, especially because Foxy wasn't trying to kill Luffy. That wasn't even his intention.
You're nearly dead, Straw Hat.
Yeah, I love it. It's great. Also, not enough people appreciate that while Foxy is a trickster and an asshole, he's also a performance artist and an athlete. That's who he is at heart.
Yeah.
Like, that's who he is. He loves entertaining and he loves sports. He loves the game.
Dude, who's the strongest and who's the weakest antagonist the weakest antagonist that can beat Foxy?
The weakest antagonist?
I think it's Mr. One.
Mr. One could beat Foxy,
Mr. One.
What if he slows the flying slash?
Well, just all right.
I would imagine that's like, oh no, Pup. He like uses his metal to like reflect it because it's like kind of shiny, and Foxy's like, oh shit.
Okay, hold on. Maybe if Foxy is fighting on his ship and he has the home field advantage, maybe he can pull some like traps and shenanigans to beat Mr. One, possibly.
Yeah, because his traps are stupid. But also, like, Mr. One's just really tanky, so I think Foxy might not have the damage.
Yeah, because like the thing is, like, let's say he trips him off in a booby trap and like gets crushed by spikes or like an explosion or whatever. That's
he
not
just
gonna do
walk it
much.
off.
Yeah, it's not gonna do much to Mr. One. So like,
especially if he turns into steel in time, then it literally might not do anything.
Yeah, I don't think
because Zoro versus Mr. One until he learned how to cut steel was Zoro essentially just blunt force traumaing Mr. One, like slamming the shit out of him, and it wasn't doing anything.
Yeah. So Bon Clay I don't think would stand much of a chance because like slow beam, Foxy Rush, I don't think there's much Mr. Two can
Nine Tails Rush.
Nine Tails Rush, yeah.
Mythical Zone ?
Yeah, and then I wonder how like I think like maybe Ohm could beat Foxy possibly because like
Ohm has the shield and the range.
Yeah, so Ohm might be able to do it. I don't think Gidatsu or the ball guy can.
Gidatsu is actually too stupid.
No, I think the ball guy, like, he'd try and pull off his trap stuff, but Foxy'd be like, I'm the king of traps, sucker. I see through all your...
No, do you know why Foxy versus Bon Clay would be great? Bon transforms into someone, and Foxy's like, heh, amateur, and he pulls out one of his disguises. He's like, to think you need a devil fruit. Not enough people appreciate how funny Foxy is.
Foxy's great.
Alright, so what's next?
Next is Zoro has to break a sword fighting Mihawk or else he wins too easily and it's terrible writing.
You can talk about this because I know exactly one human who believes it.
Yes, I too also know one human who believes it. And basically their idea is just like, if Zoro wins too easily or like as he put it, too cleanly, then that means that like it wasn't an extreme diff fight and therefore it was not
That's
worthy.
Such a power scaler thing to say.
Yeah, and I'm just like, okay, why though? And then he's like, dude, think about it. Mihawk is the highest grade blade, right? and cool arm in hockey. So like that means that like at least one of Zoro's swords, unless they're all like top grade, should all get destroyed, or like at least one should. Just to give Mihawk that respect he deserves. I'm like, okay, but like, does it make sense for Zoro's greatest triumph as a swordsman to happen at the same time he breaks one of his swords? Like, is that something the world's greatest
Yeah, it
swordsman
feels like
would
that should be
do?
triumphant. Like, I
Yeah.
think it's more likely that that's the fight where Zoro, like, learns how to make black blades, if anything.
Yeah, and like B, like the sword grades like don't have to like determine who breaks what sword, because like Zoro fought Ryuma, and Ryuma's sword was a higher grade than both the ones he had at the time, but Zoro still managed to win, right? And I wouldn't exactly say it was easy for Zoro,
Yeah.
still. And then B is just that like, because of hockey, what if Zoro just gets better armor in hockey than Mihawk, and then like none of the swords will
Oh,
break?
or even just not to mention the fact that, like, yeah, like, like, Mihawk's relationship with Zoro is pretty clearly that breaking swords is a sign of failure. He breaks Johnny and Yosuke, no, he breaks his two shit swords, um, when he loses to Mihawk. Like, they are at the, like, his ultimate attack fails when his swords break.
Yeah.
And then the next time he sees Mihawk, Mihawk is basically like, "Your sword's getting fucked is like the shame of a swordsman. You need to not do that." So like Zoro's connection to Mihawk is that not breaking his sword is a sign of excess. So if anything, it's more likely that Zoro breaks Yoru than the other way around.
Yeah. But like even then, I'm not sure that would happen because
No, I don't think that's gonna happen. I'm just saying that is legitimately more likely,
yeah. So
and I still don't think it would happen.
yeah. Okay, so next, I actually think this could be a valid criticism depending on like, where the story goes. It's that Mihawk has no rivals, and so Zoro's dream becomes less interesting because there's literally only one swordsman to surpass.
But I think
Which
that's kind of the point because Mihawk's character seems like it's a lonely at the top type of guy.
yeah, but like I think the idea is just like, the thing is, Mihawk's like obvious rival is Shanks, because like who's stronger has been ambiguous for the longest time. People have been
And
arguing
it's
about
gonna
it.
stay
And
ambiguous.
it seems like Shanks is just a swordsman who doesn't have a devil fruit, so like there's no reason not to consider him. So it's just like, depending on where they take that relationship, that criticism could turn out to be false. But
No.
like,
Also, just another super interesting thing in the whole Mihawk thing is like S-Hawk is an interesting anomaly because I legitimately don't know what they're going to do with S-Hawk.
yeah, because like,
Like, is it just going to be the basic like top tier fights clone of himself and wins to show how cool he is thing? Like, is it just gonna be that? Is that all S-Hawk's gonna do? Like, I'm not sure.
yeah. Also, dude, you gotta remember, Vista is still waiting in the wings. We don't know what happened to
Vista
Vista.
is Vista is presumably the second, third strongest swordsman, man. Because Shanks can fuck off. He's a hockey guy.
All right.
I think my favorite stupid Shanks theory back in the day is what if he has so much hockey that he can like make like enough armament to make a whole arm out of it.
That was the
like
color of hockey.
back when we weren't super sure how hockey worked, and it's like, well, if you're coating it, does that make you're making a substance? And if you're making a substance, how much of it can you theoretically make? I remember when that
Dude,
was a
Zoro's
big
gonna
theory. That
learn
was
to
fun.
extend his swords with hockey.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that one's more likely just because like a lot of hockey techniques kind of do that.
Yeah.
Well, he can extend his reach, I should say.
Yeah. I think the real disappointment about it is just supposed to be like, people want Zoro to have like a pure swordsman fight that's not Mihawk before he fights Mihawk, which like, I guess so. I mean, like, King, like, said he wasn't a swordsman, like he
Yeah,
had
I
a
mean,
devil
but
fruit
like
and
he
fought with
could
fire and all
because
that.
like he could because like he could fight S-Hawk. S-Hawk will have fire. But even then, I do think it's kind of interesting that like Zoro, the only one who sticks to his swordsmanship, is the one who is on the clearest trajectory to fight Mihawk. Where it's like he's the only person besides Mihawk in the whole world who seems to actually like value this.
Yeah, and like that tends to be like a thing with a lot of Zoro's fights, where they place him as the underdog just because he's just a sword guy. Like in Mr. One's fight, that's the first like real example. Or
Mhm.
like you could
Even
say,
Hachi,
yeah, even Hachi. But
like
the thing is, Hachi like didn't have a devil fruit or anything, so
Hachi
like
was way weaker, but no, the point is like Hachi didn't fight like a swordsman. He used his swords. He actually kind of fought like Stein from Soul Eater, where his swords were more like a shield or like a way to move you, and then he attacked using his body.
yeah. And so like Mr. One,
Or like
like
he
he's
shot
not a
ink.
sword. Like Mr. One's not a swordsman, but like he every part of his body is a weapon. He has like this metal skin that
Yeah.
makes him hard to cut.
Like he has a cool line. Oh, shocker! Mr. One Fight is good because he has a cool line where he's like what I do is closer to demolition work, and even then you couldn't hire me because I'd be too destructive. Which is like Zoro has to learn, to cut everything you must cut nothing. But Mister One is actually trying to cut everything, and that's why the diamond line is so cool. Because the point isn't Zoro needs to cut diamonds sometime. The point is Mister Destructive Psychopath, Mister One, sees Zoro learn how to cut and immediately thinks, oh, you should cut the hardest thing ever. Whereas Zoro, who has learned to cut everything you must cut nothing, as in some things are precious and should not be cut, says that would be a waste because he doesn't have the destructive psychopath mindset that fucking Mr. One does. So yeah, I am saying the fans are Mr. One and not Zoro when they say he needs to cut diamond.
Yeah, and then like with Ohm, like is a swordsman too, but his sword is like a freaky like cloud sword that does a bunch of weird stuff. So it's almost like the sword is like not even a sword and it's doing all the work for him almost.
Yeah, and then Kaku's a giraffe.
Yeah, Kaku is a giraffe who's also because of Tempest Kick can use his whole body as a weapon because of his zone. That's a weird thing. A lot of those opponents they use their whole bodies as weapons a lot of the time. Like I think Ryuma's like the one big exception, but like yeah.
Yeah,
So, like,
Ryuma was the most swordsman guy Zoro fought, and he bought him and he beat him by pulling a fire slash out of his ass.
all right. So next is Uta being Shanks' daughter is an insult to the canon.
All right, because I think what they said is, how could Shanks have a secret daughter and have it never be brought up all this time? And it's like, dog, Luffy got away with having two secret brothers that weren't brought up until they were introduced. They did it twice!
Yeah, and yeah. It's just not like Shanks' backstory has always been a blank slate, so it could have gone literally anywhere. He could have been related to
Sanji had a secret dad for how long? What's interesting is the Straw Hats are main characters. Their past is way more likely to be brought up than Shanks, who is still a fucking enigma as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but I guess like we might be strawmanning this guy because maybe his idea is just
because we don't know what he said.
Because like the movie's trying to like just sell us on going to buy it because we want to know what Shanks' daughter is like it's using that connection to a canon character to get us in the Cedar Thieves,
which I'm okay with because it was good.
Yeah, no, like unironically, like it's a fan fiction, so you don't have to take any lore implications seriously.
Because like all the past movies have tried to do that. Shiki was Roger's rival. Zephyr trained the admirals. Zoro was Dofi's slave. Bullet was on Roger's crew and is as strong as Prime Rayleigh.
the bozo from the Cursed Sword movie was Zoro's best friend.
Yeah, back in the day, which is like all movies have been. One Piece movies have been doing this for a while. It's only bad when I don't like it. That's why Bullet is cringe, but Uta is cool.
Unironically, that's how if the movie's good, who gives a shit?
Yeah. Right. It's also just like, again, like, yeah. Also, like, Shanks keeping Uta's secret also makes sense because, like, her being his daughter, even if it's not real, would still, like, be the single greatest threat to her life he could do.
Yeah. Alright, so there's a video you want to talk about, but because we're, like, nearing an hour, I want to get to the comments, so we'll save that for next time.
Oh, the YouTuber?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so like
he's an interesting guy.
All right, so most of the comments is about Destiny Piece, right? But we'll get to this one first, just to get out of the way. Someone said Vegapunk. He doesn't like the idea that everyone's acting like Vegapunk will reveal Emu, even though there's no evidence that he's aware of Emu's existence. Which, like, that's fair.
I'm gonna believe in Vegapunk. I'm gonna believe he knows.
The thing is, like, we don't know how much Vegapunk knows right now, so like reasonably he could, but like, not necessarily, right?
Right.
Like that is kind of interesting though, is that like because obviously the reason why the world government's like kind of cool is like the big antagonistic force is because they're trying to like if inherited will is a big thing in the setting, them like erasing history and like any information about this one kingdom is pretty cool, right?
Right.
So like I guess like it kind of brings up the question: how much of did Emu manage to erase like his own existence from history somehow to make sure no one would know?
Right, which seems a lot easier because, like, even if he did exist because like people who know about the history of the world, even then they're like, okay, so there was an ancient king who had Nerona in his last name. Okay, but that was 1,000 years ago. No way that fucker's still alive. Like, just the mere fact that he's presumably immortal is already enough. Where it's like, even if people knew he existed, they don't have any reason to think he's still alive.
Yeah.
So he's got a good trick there. And then the rest are Destiny pieced. Let's see
All right, so
here.
the first one is Dragon saving Luffy at Logtown. Is it Destiny or not?
The funny thing is, Locktown's theme literally is Destiny. Like literally, you have that line right at the end of Whoop Slap, saying like, "Oh, was Luffy becoming a pirate just that, or was it his destiny?" Whoa! And like, but even then, that's also paired with Dragon being like, "Take your dreams into your own hands." Like, kind of clearly, they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Like you shape your own destiny type of shit.
Yeah. And I guess like the thing that actually like causes like an argument, just like, all right, is like, Luffy getting saved by the dad he never met, just to like, it's obviously just as convenient as if a random lightning bolt struck, right? So like either or, it's Luffy getting lucked out, which could be considered like a Destiny's hand at work or whatever. So it's just like, is one necessarily more Destiny-ish than the other? I guess that's what the argument's about.
Right? It's just like, I there's gonna be a little bit either way. It just depends on how you read it. One guy said the paradox of freedom. Don't care. That's more complicated, and I think One Piece will tackle. Fate is Luffy's bitch. Look at all the stupid things it has to do to save his life.
Wait, wait,
Okay,
wait,
that's
wait.
very funny. That's really funny. If fate is real, it hates Luffy because of how much he endangers himself.
Oh my god,
God,
he's
this
at it again.
stupid kid.
Wait,
Okay, that's
did
really
did he
funny.
just jump off of the elephant on Zoe? What? That's like a
Oh my
3,000. He
god.
could have climbed
Ah!
down.
No, I think that's really funny.
Wait,
Alright, oh yeah,
what
we
was
could
that
do
last
one
one?
more question.
What was that last
We
one you
could
were
do
talking
one.
about though? The one you said that was too complicated. What was that?
Oh no, just the sentence, the paradox of freedom. Just I don't think One Piece is going to cover that.
You mean like you mean like determinism stuff like that?
Yeah, I assume that's what they mean. It's like I don't think One Piece is going to cover determinism.
Okay, dude. You know what's actually like a really cool thing that Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds did?
What?
All right, so Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds is also a story that has like both freedom and destiny as main themes because Yusei's literally a chosen one. He's a
Hmm.
signer. He's got the big dragon mark that glows and stuff that he was like basically born with and junk.
Oh no, the paradox of freedom is Plato's fucking thing.
Oh well, anyway, I want to talk about this. Is that like basically one of the villains like brings like Yusei. You were literally the way you are because you were born in a shithole, and that changed the way you look forever. If your father didn't blow up the thing and turn the city you lived in into a slum, you would be a completely different person. Destiny obviously exists. You're a slave to it, especially now because you're a signer. Get fucked. And then Yusei just says, okay, literally everything you said is probably true. I would definitely be a different person if I was raised somewhere else or whatever. But also, if I just don't listen to my own conscience and do what I think is right, then what's the point of anything? And then like he beats
Oh,
him.
nice. Okay, never mind. I don't know what this guy's talking about because he said paradox of free, which could be short for two
Oh,
things.
also
If he
another thing about
means
5Ds is that literally this one guy,
lightning.
like, okay, basically this one guy who was a signer, like, became a villain and stuff, like his
Wow,
eye.
signer, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so basically the idea with the villains there is just like basically they're rejecting destiny for its own sake, and therefore they're being controlled by it just as much, if not more
Whoa, it's
so.
Moggy.
Yeah, no, like literally, because they're choosing to go right where Destiny tells them to go left, they're not making their own decision. They're just saying, no, I want to do the opposite of what it says. And then also, like, another character just becomes a signer out of nowhere. I think it was literally just because, like, he was so popular that, like, he ended up becoming one. I think
Fuck yeah.
I think a
Fuck yeah.
director may have said
Fuck yeah.
that.
Fuck yeah. That's awesome. TV, fucking toy commercial series are great.
Yeah. All right. So,
No,
no,
no. I was gonna say the guy who said paradox of free could be two things. If he means paradox of free will, that's about the concept of an omniscient God, which has nothing to do with One Piece. And then the paradox of freedom is just the whole. Well, eventually your freedom will start inhibiting others, which I feel like One Piece does cover. The point is, freedom that hurts others is bad, and you
yeah,
shouldn't do it.
that's Blackbeard.
Uh,
Black. Yeah, we recorded this a week earlier, but we just wanted sort of Blackbeard section here. So like, it's kind of interesting that like Blackbeard and his crew seem to believe in destiny. Like Augurs like talks about fate a lot. Doc
Doc Q
Q
talks
talks
about
about like
fate all the
luck.
time.
Yeah, or like luck and Blackbeard. So like, it
Believes in
doesn't.
fate too.
Yeah, and so doesn't the fact that like this antagonist group seems to like consistently like adhere to some sort of like destiny philosophy or whatever imply we're going to like challenge this idea? Because I know
Yeah.
villains are right about something sometimes. Like, I'll quote Kaido when he says, like, hockey's more important than devil fruits when it comes to
Yeah.
being a cool guy and ruling the seas. But, like,
Well, that's because the
99% of the
reason
stuff.
we know. Well, also the reason we know Kaido is reliable there is because that's how he lost the fight. Is
Yeah,
because his hockey was
literally.
worse.
Literally. And also, like, he's literally citing Roger. So, like, it's like, all right,
Yeah.
cool. We know that guy. We know what Roger did and how he did it.
Hmm.
Whereas, like, anything he says other than that, I'm probably gonna think is like wrong in some
Yeah,
way. Like
like
when
they
he
make
says
it
the
pretty clear
samurai are
Kaido's
weak,
kind
like
of
they say like, ah,
stupid.
the samurai are weak. They've accepted defeat into their hearts. The world can't be changed. Ah, you couldn't be Joy Boy
Pirates are
either.
guaranteed to betray you. He was obviously wrong there.
Yeah, so like the fact that Blackbeard and his crew seem to believe in Destiny somewhat kind of implies that like if Destiny does become a core like theme or force like within like that conflict whatever arc they become relevant in, that implies that like the villains are on the side of Destiny and the
Yeah.
heroes are not.
Well, not to mention, also Luffy and Blackbeard both kind of embody destiny in their own way. Where Luffy is quote unquote destined for the Nika fruit, and you could assume Blackbeard thinks he was destined for the Dark fruit. But also, Luffy and Teach both stole them.
Yeah, dude, like if you're talking about the Nika fruit chose Luffy, would say okay, but how do you know it didn't choose Shanks and then Luffy stole it?
Yeah, or hell, Shanks stole it from the Marines. What if it chose that? Or like,
Well, no, we
I'm
were told
talking.
like it was evading the
No,
Marines, so
what if
like
it was calling to Who's Who?
oh, dude, we missed the chosen one. Who was there?
um,
Well, it is
or and
really
then
interesting. Like, like Blackbeard says, the fruit chose him, but then he killed Thatch to get it. So, like, even
yeah,
then, how much does like Destiny and like fruits choosing people actually play a role?
yeah.
That's really questionable as of now.
And like you're pretty clearly supposed to draw parallels between the dark fruit and the rubber Nika fruit because they look the exact fucking same.
Yeah,
One just looks meaner. Or like uh
and
Impel
also
Down, which is
Sun
the
God
arc.
Darkness. Yeah,
Yeah, and also Impel Down is the arc about miracles, which is you could say is Destiny adjacent. And Eva's whole point is miracles come to those who make them. And we see that through both Luffy and Blackbeard. Both of them fight Magellan, almost fucking die, survive it, and get a bunch of Impel Down allies as a result. Like, literally, the exact same thing happens to both of them. The difference is Luffy just goes with it and Eva calls it a miracle, and Blackbeard would call it fate.
yeah.
Like, that's the only difference.
Hmm. So yeah, that'd
So,
be
yeah,
interesting. So like obviously
they've got.
like Destiny's gonna play some role in the story.
Mhm.
As for whether or not Luffy's gonna be a puppet, I doubt that's gonna be the intention
Yeah.
or like the
Well,
thing
I
you're
think it's
supposed to
pretty
take away.
meaningful that the people who
Dude,
rely on
I'm
fate are villains, and the people who don't give a shit about it, and when they do hear about it, are probably going to reject it, are the heroes.
dude,
Like, I think that's
I just had a nightmare.
what.
Okay, so I'm just imagining it's like the final battle with Luffy versus Blackbeard, and then Blackbeard's gonna bust into some monologue about like, I am the reincarnation of Rocks, you are the reincarnation of Joyboy, we were obviously destined to fight, we were destined to do this.
And then Luffy's like,
Everything,
who?
every decision you've made in your entire life was actually like inserted into your head by
Hmm.
the Nika fruit or whatever, and then like
Hmm.
like
What?
a month later, like 5-10 chapters later, we're gonna learn that Blackbeard was wrong about that. But in between that amount of
Oh
time,
no.
the fan base will be literally
No.
on
No.
fire, and we'll just have to sit
Literally
there and
just
take it.
the chapter Teach says that, it could be like either that chapter he's clearly wrong, or it'd be like the cliffhanger is him saying that, and then the next chapter is Luffy challenging him. That would be enough. The mere fact of Teach saying it would be enough to convince some people.
It would.
Even if, like, literally, even if the second he said it, it was obviously wrong, it would still convince a lot of One Piece fans.
I'm literally just imagining like he says we are literally reincarnations of these people, and then like maybe later that's proven false somehow, and then other people still roll with it.
Oh no, they absolutely would. People roll with so much bullshit. I kind of have to I kind of forget about like a lot of dumb shit. Like people call Joy Boy the chosen one so often. I'm like, oh wait, that's not a fucking canon thing.
Yeah. And also like about like some people like think that like Shanks and we actually got a comment about this like Shanks and Rayleigh helped out Luffy because of his bloodline, or like Luffy's
Hmm.
gonna be the pirate king because of his bloodline, which doesn't make much sense to me personally, because how does son of grandson of a marine and son of a revolutionary equal destined to be a pirate? That doesn't seem to
Yeah,
be like that seems like pretty weird.
yeah,
Like
because like
they all love freedom, and presumably they all like pass down those
yeah.
values to one another, like as parents do
Not
to
to
their
mention
children.
like if Joy Boy is the one destined to liberate the Earth, or whatever the fuck, and you looked at the whole Monkey D family and you had to pick who was going to succeed at that, you'd probably pick Dragon
Yeah.
because that's what Dragon wants to do.
Yeah, or like again, like some people apply this to Zoro, like, he was like a descendant of Ryuma, so like obviously he was destined to be a great swordman. But okay, what about literally everyone else in the village though? Like there was at least 2 families in this village descended from Ryuma, and Zoro's literally the coolest person that came out of there in literally generations. So like that we know of at least. So it's
Yeah.
like, can you really put it all on? It was the Ryuma blood working for Zoro or something? I
Yeah.
doubt you
It's
could.
yeah, it's hard to take the Destiny stuff seriously because again, like One Piece hasn't even explored the idea of like a chosen one yet.
I know, like it's so weird. Like
Or
the term.
reincarnation.
Yeah, the
Reincarnation's
term
so
reincarnation
funny.
has not even been brought up in the manga
Oh,
once.
yeah, like maybe it was brought up as a joke by Brook when he died, but besides that, no.
Yeah,
I'm
I
saying
think
maybe. I don't even know if he said that. I'm just saying he may have.
even when like they talk about Delphins, they don't say the Delphoot reincarnates. They say the Delphoot appears again somewhere.
Yeah, reincarnation is a fan term that I will admit I use for devil fruits.
Yeah, so it's weird. Okay, again, I'm
Yeah.
gonna stop recording now.
Woo. All right, we're
The
done.
video will probably be up tomorrow or something.
Sweet. Yeah.
Weird. It's like,
Someone said, "What are our thoughts on AI art in a broader sense?"
you know,
Since we
we
made
could
fun
get that.
of
There's
the
still more
YouTuber.
Destiny piece stuff to talk.
Okay, sure. We'll do more Destiny piece. All right.
All
Blah
right,
blah
so
blah blah blah.
all right, so the fruit I wrote them down here. So the next one is the fruit chose Luffy, which is questionable.
We talked about
for
a little
couple
bit,
reasons.
which is just like it's really unclear how sentient Nika is. So until we learn more, I'm not gonna believe that. Mainly because Luffy just seemed to be a stupid kid who grabbed some stupid fucking fruit because he's Luffy.
Yeah, like
And also, do other fruits choose, or is it only mythical zones, or is it only Nika? Did
we're
the
told
fish fruit?
Zoan fruits have a will, so like you could say maybe
Yeah. So did the
Zoans
giraffe fruit choose Kaku?
The thing is like
Did the because Kaku fucks with being a giraffe?
yeah, because like the thing is we never
um,
seen a Delphi like move on its own or like even beckon people to eat it or whatever. Like I don't
So
think
we're
it's
not
ever
really
happened.
sure what the whole wills of their own things means
That
besides
is
the
true
awakening
because like we
thing.
have no
But
idea.
yeah, one is the awakening thing. Two is the whole putting them inside of inanimate objects. Outside of that, we don't really know what that means. So like, I don't want to
Yeah,
make any assumptions.
like
there.
also like let's say the fruit like chose Luffy to eat it. Like at that point, I don't think that's like Destiny deciding what Luffy does. I think that at that point the fruit is now just a character, no different than say Shanks or Rayleigh, who's like, oh, this is a cool kid. I want to bet on this kid. Because, like,
Right.
presumably the fruit chose people before Luffy, possibly. Like, you know, because like, other people have eaten this fruit before if it stayed out of the government's hands, right?
Yeah.
Or, like, so, like, at that, like, Luffy still had to, like, earn the awakening and, like, get to the point that he was able to, like, you know, do that, which is apparently, like, we're told it's, like, very hard and no one's done it in a long time.
Right. Someone brought up a good one, which is like they point out in One Piece, if your willpower and hope are strong, you manifest your own destiny that aligns with your wishes. Which is one, that's what devil fruits are, kind of, from what we can tell from Vegapunk. And two, that is kind of just like the theme of Impel Down, where the whole point is miracles only happen to those who fight for them.
Yeah.
Like, sure, is it like miracle plot armor bullshit that Luffy went through all the Eva shit and didn't die? Or like Bond didn't die, or like everyone in Impel Down didn't die? Yeah, but the point is they only got that because they reached out and grabbed it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then what other? Let me see if there's any other Destiny piece before we get to the one guy.
Okay, O'Hara thinks that the Nika fruit brainwashes people into following Luffy.
Oh, yeah, put that clip.
The clip's going right here.
For good measure as well. The acrobat swordsman Kabaji is the next person in line to be unknowingly convinced by the influence of his Nika fruit and ends up following Zoro. But alright.
Yeah, nice.
Stupid
Alright,
fucking take. Oh
So
my god.
yeah, dumb as shit.
By the way, he says it in that sentence may not make sense because like you know this.
Oh,
is,
it's a what if where Zoro
it's
ate it
it's
instead
a
of
fan
Luffy.
fiction, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, we gotta call it what it is. It's fanfic where
this-
Zoro ate it instead of Luffy.
Yeah.
And
next is
it's nonsense. Oh wait, I was saying that's nonsense real quick. Luffy's ability to draw others to like root for him, wow, very good, is not Luffy specific. Odin can
not
do it,
exclusive.
Roger could do it, Buggy can do it.
yeah. Even like Kaido and Big Mom kind of do it in their own way.
Yeah, but like I think Kaido does the opposite, where he just beats the shit out of you until you listen to him.
Yeah. All right.
And then are there any other?
Yes, there is.
Someone just said the whole "it's about reincarnation now," but they didn't.
Funny
they
how the
didn't fight
word
for it.
reincarnation never came up in the story once. I don't think.
No, it hasn't. So unless you mean how devil fruits reincarnate, but That's a different
I mean,
thing.
like Zoe or like Zunisha does say that a Joy Boy has returned, so like I guess
Oh
maybe
no,
like
it says it. No, Zoe says it feels like you're here, but like, as in it feels like, as in he's literally not. And as we know, whatever the fuck a Nika is and Joy Boy are different things. So why does Luffy remind Zunisha of Joy Boy? Because Luffy is the last, because the first person to like the last person to awaken this power since Luffy was Joy Boy. It's pretty simple.
I
It's
mean,
like it's like
could
Kakashi seeing
could
Mikoto's
that
back.
be because Luffy's secretly the reincarnation of Joy Boy? Like possibly, I don't know what
Maybe.
way the story's
But
gonna
also,
go,
it could
but
just
like
be because he awakened.
also like this is the thing about like because inherited will is a big thing in the story, right? I think some
Yeah.
people confuse elements of inherited will with destiny. Like I think the will of D is like one where like I'm more willing to believe that like there was a giant game of, like this is actually one of the comments we got. It said like it
Mhm.
said like the link between Joy Boy and Luffy is probably more akin to a game of broken telephone where some guy inherited this guy's Joy Boy's will and then passed it
Yeah,
down
that seems
until
like a given.
it reached Roger and then like it reached Shanks and then it reached Luffy because like or like
Off,
maybe
let's
maybe
go.
maybe even not. Maybe it might even be like like Roger read the poneglyph and then from there inherited Joy Boy's will, then gave it to Shanks, then Luffy.
Yeah,
Like or it could be both. Like I'm honestly willing to
yeah,
believe that it'll be like both of those at the same time.
yeah. I don't know.
Because
I got excited.
that's probably what the will of D is. That like you pass it on and then like because it's been literally a millennia, people have forgotten what the D meant, but they still use the name
Yeah,
and still maybe hold the same core values because most
like to a degree. Well, clearly not perfectly, because all the D's have very, very different ideas about some things. So even
yeah.
that's up for debate.
But
Oh,
but like you can argue that they all like chase freedom in their own way, I guess.
except for like Cobra. He's just a king. He's a good king, but he's just a king. Um,
Right.
and then oh, I think we're done with Destiny piece
Not yet,
comments.
because this is actually
Is there one more that I missed?
there's two more. These aren't actually comments, but like
Oh, well, that's why I
okay.
don't see
So the
him.
first one is just the theory that Shanks wanted to groom Ace and give him the fruit, which
Oh, this is
that's
entirely possible,
that
but
is
I
a
have a giant question mark with it.
yeah. There's a bit of a hole in it.
My giant question mark is, if Garp and Dadan did such a good and Rouge did such a good job hiding Ace's identity that the government didn't figure out who the hell he was for ages, how the flying fuck did what? Two problems. One, how the flying fuck did Shanks figure out what island he was on? And two, if Shanks figured out what island he was on, how come we never found him?
Yeah, because Shanks returned to Kokoyashi multiple times. Like he
Yeah, it was his
allowed he was
base.
yeah. So like if he was there that many times, then like maybe it's possible that he also met Ace on the island and like was going to only
What?
go back once he got the fruit, but then Luffy ate it before he like managed to give it to him. I guess that's
Right.
possible. Just
Yeah.
again, it leaves it's a bit of a question mark. It's possible. It also like help with the whole like Ace's like the failed chosen one because
Yeah, because
Roger's
that
son
would
and all
add to
that.
it.
Yeah.
But my biggest problem is just like there are like possibilities, but generally it's hard to construct a way that Shanks would be able to find Ace when the entire government doesn't even know where Ace is. Like I guess Shanks has a good information network, but also how the hell would he have found that out? What did the Dan's goons leak that? Because if so, I think the government would have found out.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So yeah.
that one's confusing.
And like one more thing, I think this is like obviously like I feel like some people like I know this is best Guyver's thing. He says like the worst thing or like the worst thing Nika or like the Destiny thing could do is like taint Luffy's character in any way or
Right?
Shanks's character because like I like this is the thing like if Shanks knew that the fruit was special, if he knew like the full implications of what the Nika fruit could eventually do and stuff like that, does that mean he
Right?
was betting more so on the fruit than Luffy? That is a
Which
very
already
interesting question
it
that
is,
like
but we know
could
at the very
possibly
least it's
taint
not in.
the way we see Luffy and Shanks' relationship.
Yeah,
Like,
but what's interesting is even if it was partially the fruit, we know it wasn't all that because again, what was the thing Shanks said? He said Luffy said the same thing as Roger, which had nothing to do with the fruit.
yeah,
So at the end of the day, even if it was partially the fruit, I don't know, maybe Shanks is kind of weird. Um, the thing about Luffy that left the greatest impression on Shanks wasn't the fruit; it was the fact that he acted like Roger.
yeah,
So yeah, there's that. All right, is that it for Destiny piece? Because if so,
There's
we have
just
like
one more. This is just a take. We're like,
this
all
is
right, maybe it's technically not Destiny Piece, or maybe it'll never be Destiny Piece. But if it looks too much like it, I'll still not like it.
that just
Which
sounds like you being a whiny
that
fucking
the thing is,
nerd.
I guess it's a valid like for you. No one has to like One Piece, right? So if you don't like the
Oh yeah,
direction
no,
it's
yeah,
going,
that's why I didn't give a serious rebuttal. I just called you a whiny nerd. If you don't like
yeah,
that, that's fine.
like at the end of the day, no one has to like. You don't have to like it. It just, I guess, like if it doesn't work out for you, that's perfectly fine. Like if you don't vibe with the thing, you don't have to like the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, I'm gonna double check one more time for comments.
No, there's like 3 comments we can bring up.
All right.
One is what are our thoughts on the AI art? Because we made fun of how ugly that one O'Hara vid and the anime's balls deep vids are. What are our
Okay.
thoughts on them? In terms of video making, horrendous. Holy shit! It looks so bad. It would have been better to just screen grab a statue of Icarus. Like it's
And
distractingly bad looking.
like the thing is, like it's so weird because like it can't be quicker to like get an AI generated get the machine to make a generated image and then put that in the video editor. Like that
And to
can't be
just
faster.
find a picture of a statue. I don't think it's faster.
Unless like
And
unless maybe like a literal machine is editing these things, which I don't think they are. I'm not sure.
no,
Like, the
Anime
software
Balls
for that yet.
Deep has too much zoomer, hyper fast editing for that to be the case. And then AI art in general. I mean, like the way Twitter bros do it, they're wrong. Don't post your disgusting abomination and say, "Look at my masterpiece." But like actual talented artists do use AI in their process, and they know what they're doing.
Yeah, like this is actually like a weird example, but like I'm playing through Hades right now, and like
Yeah.
roguelikes like in general kind of have to rely on like AI to like randomly generate like the things, because the whole point of the game is that like
Well,
every
there's
time you go
certain. Well,
through,
I mean,
it's like
if you
randomly
played enough
generated.
Hades to know there are a certain amount of rooms, and each
Yeah,
room
yeah,
has a certain amount of enemies that spawn every time. You've
yeah.
played enough Hades to know
Yeah, I
that.
know, but it's still like the order and stuff like that, and like what rewards are at the end of each. So they do
Well,
need to.
even then, Puff, that's an example of how AI itself is an art form because like they had to make those AIs, so
Yeah.
like they
So
created them.
so like when it comes to like the I think it's called a stable diffusion, right? Like whoever made that, I can consider an artist, but like the people who then like go and use a stable diffusion and say, give me Supergirl, 2 suns, 16 fingers, and all those
You
prompts
are
like that.
making fun of a very specific person. Oh, that was the guy who was screaming about Peach wearing pants. That's the same guy. Let's go. All right.
So I would
So
not
yeah.
consider people using the software to be artists, but I'd consider like the person who made it, and like I guess if you also want to extend that to the software
And also, like,
itself to
there
be
are
artists.
AI tools. Like, there are ways you can, like that thing on, it might be Photoshop, it might be a different one, that, like, helps autocorrect your shading and your line work because writing with a mouse can suck dick. Yeah, you're still an artist, no shit. You're just, tool-assisted things are not cheating. Other, AI thing, this is just me whining. I fucking hate interpolation.
Yeah. All right.
If
So
you watch an interpolated version of an anime opening and then watch the original, and you think the interpolation looks the same or better, you are blind.
yeah.
I hate
I think
interpolation.
all right. One thing that like I kind of like take issue with like ARP on Jones, like all right. So like way back in the day, the Matthew Matosis like was doing like a
Wow,
questions
Matthew
thing.
Matosis.
Yes, and like someone asked him like hey would you be if you ever like were making your own game, would you be okay letting an AI make the music or something? And he said I would not want the AI to like just make the music and I use whatever it gives me, but I would be fine like editing because I'm not a music guy myself. So if the AI could like give me something to work with and then I could tune it from there, I'd consider that to be
Mhm.
pretty cool and good.
Although, like, I'd assume in his perfect
And
universe, he'd also rather have humans he could work with to help him make the
yeah,
music.
like obviously, like he's saying this because like I'm not a music guy, and because like I think right now he's actually making a game himself, like with
Oh,
only
wow.
himself. So like, but like he says, like ideally, I some human involvement will be in there. I feel like my real problem with AI artists is that like they don't have the patience to like edit the art afterwards, because like again, like
Oh,
if something
even
comes
when
out,
they do, it still comes out like shit.
all right, no, this is actually something I've noticed because like let's I know like eyes almost always look weirdly bad. Like, so, like, but like again, wouldn't it be easy to like say just like erase whatever eye gets fucked up and then like make it match the other one, or like just to
No, no, people, no, Puff. There is a guy who does that, and he does say this makes him a true AI artist,
okay.
even though his art still
Well,
looks like
yeah.
shit. Puff, that's the Supergirl with 2 sons. He did edit that to make it better, and it still came out like
Oh,
that.
okay, yeah, but just like it's so weird because like is it so hard to go in afterwards and like erase one of the fingers or something like
But
that?
I like how you're literally like, can you at least make it hard for me to tell that it's
Yeah,
AI? You
yeah.
lazy hack.
And I guess
my
I guess this is like I guess like one use AR it has, although like like it's not that useful, is that like for porn, right? Because like on one hand, the internet
no,
can output
no. Insert
Shiki,
meme here.
let me
Insert the
talk.
meme here.
Let me
Put the
talk.
meme here. Yeah, but put the
Okay.
meme, Puff, of the meme. You know what meme I'm talking
No,
about.
I don't know what meme we're
Oh, I
talking
tell
about.
you after then.
All right. So like basically the internet the internet's like output of porn is like so high that's like there's literally no need to like increase it, right? Cuz there's already way more than you could ever like consume or hope for or ever want for. But like
Yeah.
I guess if you want like I want my specific waifu in this specific position and
And
stuff
you're
like that.
poor and can't commission a horny artist to actually do it for you. Because you
Yeah.
can just do
Because like
that.
that's what I was about to say then. So it's like, well, you could always commission someone to do it, but like let's say that's not an option for you for whatever reason.
Mhm. Well, no, Puff. I think we're this is breaking the ground of AI for personal use. If you just want to fuck around with it for yourself, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Someone in our server did that. They used an AI thing to try and make anime characters look like Umaneko characters. That was a fucking time. And part of that is just like the fun of how shit they look, but it's just like for personal use, yeah, sure. But counterpoint to the horny thing, to that, Puff. One of the most popular anti-AI memes on Twitter is literally a tweet that says, "AI can never make true art because it can never be horny. It doesn't have that capacity."
You're
All right, then
right.
we had 2 more comments. One was um, the thing that all mythical zones don't trace back to a group, like my theory of a gorilla tribe of Buddhas, but they trace back to one. I don't like that because I don't think that's capital G God, but that's like a cursive lowercase g God, and I don't like that.
Yeah. I guess like I think the idea of the theory is just that like like there was like a real Nika, there was a Buddha, and
Yeah,
then
there was
like
a single
they
Nika, a single
somehow
Phoenix.
somehow they were transformed into the fruit, or like they I don't know, maybe like
Like people
they
saw them and thought they were so cool. They're like, I want to be that.
yeah. It's just so I guess like
Eh.
that would mean that the fruit's like an imitation of a god at that
Mhm.
point, where it's just like
Yeah, I don't like that much. I prefer either there were a fuck ton or there were none.
also
Because a
I
fuck ton
feel
is funnier, and I think a fuck ton is the funny answer, and none I think more makes more sense thematically.
no,
Of
like
like
I
the
do think it
ultimate
does, like
devil fruits are manifestations of dreams of creatures
yeah,
that
I was
can't
about to
even
say that.
exist.
Yeah, like these things didn't exist before until people dreamed them into existence. I think that's like cooler and like fits with the themes more. I agree with you there.
Last, someone said to watch a fairy tale video. You know who you are. We watched it. Sucked ass. Felt like it was straight out 2016. What the hell was that?
Yeah. All right, so like we were thinking of doing a fairy tale part 2, and we have like a few things but not like
But we
enough
don't
for
have
like a
enough for
full
a full
length
video.
video. So if you have anything more to give us, please do so. And
Yeah,
also
if you hate Fairy Tale, tell us why, because we'll probably just disagree with you. And you like it, and you hear some annoying negative discourse, tell us that, because we like talking about Fairy Tale, partially because like no one else does, at least in a way that's interesting.
yeah, and also like do the same thing we just said but also for MHA because it's ending soon. And
Oh,
like
it's
we are
ending super soon.
yeah, so we're
It'll be
both
fun to
planning
talk
to
about.
like yeah, we're both planning to reread the entire thing, and we do know enough about like some of the like broader bad takes that have been
Oh,
around
we
to
know
like
the broad discourse. I couldn't escape it if I wanted to.
yeah, like I was there, like we were both there when chapter 1 dropped, and so like we kind of been following it since then, right?
Well, I was there for chapter 1. I was there for episode 1, and then after season 1 ended, I read the
Yeah,
manga.
but anyway, we were here from like early on. We've been following it, so
Yeah, we were there pretty early.
yeah. So cool.
That's
Go
it.
watch Haikyuu. It's like a really great anime series. Don't know about the
Okay,
manga,
let
but the
me
manga's great too.
specify as the manga reader. If you don't have the patience in your heart to read the manga first, go watch the movie. But ideally, you should do both.
Haikyuu is really good. You should. I've never seen the manga, but like Shiki likes it, so I'm guessing both versions are really great.
Oh yeah,
Such
like
a
it
good
literally
show.
differs. Like there's matches where I prefer the anime, there's matches where I prefer the manga. It's both really good. And even like Nekoma, where I prefer the manga because they didn't cut everything. There's things that the anime does better, like the final rally. Holy fucking shit.
Yeah. Oh man, that final rally.
That's one of the
That
coolest
was
things I've ever
intense.
seen.
That
That's
was
one of the coolest things
intense.
I've seen in my life. So
Yeah.
yeah, sports anime good, Haikyuu good.
I wonder if we could do a
Goodbye.
sports video too, because like things I'm not like
Oh
into
my
that.
god, Puff,
I'm
you
not.
would get me yapping for hours.
The thing is, I'm not in any discussion for like weekly sports manga. Is the thing. So like I'm
Oh no,
completely.
Puff, that's the problem. I'm not either. All of my yapping would just be like Ippo is peak, Yowamushi is peak, Slam Dunk is peak, Ballroom is peak. I'd just be yelling about how much I
Hey,
like sports manga.
I'm caught up on one of those.
I'm not caught up on Ballroom. I have only seen the anime, but it was peak. Watch Ballroom. Watch Welcome to the Ballroom. That's peak right there. Holy shit.
Oh no, that's great too.
Dude, the openings are so good. Alright,
All right, good
that
then.
is all.